Hey guys, welcome back. Today's star of the dish is going to be cabbage. And a lot of people really don't know what to do with the cabbage and how to really cook with it. So I'm going to show you a fun way to cook and to enjoy cabbage. So this is my Parmesan crusted spiced cabbage with a salsa of chickpeas and corn. We're going to start by making the crust for the cabbage, and for this I have got some Parmesan which I've grated. Now the reason why I use Parmesan, because once Parmesan cooks it melts down, but when it cools down it sticks together and makes it quite firm and crispy, and that is the texture which you want. You can use some hard cheese like a really hard mature cheddar, even that could work quite well, but do not use any soft cheese. The firmer the cheese, the drier the cheese, the less the moisture, so when it melts it will spread across. When you cool it down, it all sticks together. Now again, cheese has got a lot of natural salt in them, so I'm not going to add any seasoning, but I'm going to add flavorings in them. So I am going to add some dried herbs. The reason I'm using dried herbs is because they have no moisture. I don't want to add moisture in the dish. If you add fresh herbs, it can work, but they also discolor a lot. I've got some red chili flakes. I'm going to be a bit generous in that because the cabbage is not going to have much flavor, so I'm going to add as much as possible. Now there is a cheat here. If you want, you can actually also add some breadcrumbs into the crust. Even that would work. Again, it's a technique by adding more flavor or more crunch, but the Parmesan on its own would really work quite well. And you see that? It looks quite nice and colorful as it is. I'm going to keep that aside. And then, oh, the chili hits you. I'm going to make the salad, which is going to be the base for the cabbage. And for that, I have got some chickpeas. So I'm going to use boiled chickpeas. You can use canned chickpeas, perfectly fine. You can use that too. It works well. And I've got some corn kernels. Again, corn which has been boiled. You can get them frozen or into a can. Even that would work. Again, corn gives it a kind of a slight sweetness to the dish, which is actually quite nice. For flavoring, it's going to be again some chili. If you want, you can also add olives in them. It works well. Some dried herbs, and I'm going to add lime. This lime is actually from my garden. Take out the seeds and just get a good squeeze, a generous squeeze. So that is just a nice juicy lime, and there's a small seed which I will take out. There we go. Give that a little toss. If you want, you can also add some black olives in them, some sun-dried tomatoes, some fresh tomatoes, some olives. It's entirely your choice what you want to add. I'm keeping them very simple flavors. Some salt, a little more pinch of salt, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Just a drizzle of olive oil. It gives it a very nice kind of a flavor to the salsa or to the salad. Yum, nice. Salad done, the cheese done. The next step is the cabbage. Now this is the real star of the dish. It's a very humble vegetable and generally ignored and not really used a lot. And I do love cabbage, and I did cook with cabbage, really works well. But what I've done here is I want to hold the shape of the cabbage. To hold the shape of the cabbage, I've left the center vein or the curd of the cabbage. So when you cut them into small little veggies, and when you cook them, it doesn't fall apart, doesn't break even, doesn't break open. This stem in the center of the curd will hold the shape of the cabbage quite well. If you want, you can even steam the cabbage first before cooking, but I like it crunchy. I don't like it soft and soggy. So I'm going to make it with raw. All I will do at this stage is I'm going to lightly season with salt. I'm not going to add anything else into it. It's just salt on both sides. this is now ready to go onto the pan. So what I will do now is I'm going to actually add the cheese onto the pan, add my cabbage and cook it onto a low heat just to finish it off. To cook the cabbage, you need to have a heavy bottom pan. Now I've got this cast iron heavy bottom pan, and the reason for heavy bottom pan is that it retains the heat quite well. So when you add in your cheese and you cook in a very low heat, the temperature of the pan is very even. So if you have a light pan or a non-stick pan which is not really heavy enough, then what will happen is it'll burn at the bottom. It'll get too hot and it'll burn at the bottom, and you don't want that to happen. You want it at a medium heat to cook on a slow to medium heat. The cheese cooks together and so does the cabbage. The first thing I do is I'm going to add my cheese mixture, all of that on the bottom of the dish. I'm going to add a little more and try and spread that out evenly. So that's spread out. I'm going to add a little more. Now if you don't like it too cheesy, like I said earlier, you can also use some breadcrumbs mixed inside the cheese. Now once that is done, all I do is I'm going to add the cabbage onto the cheese mixture. Now I'm going to have one per portion, but if you have a larger family, you can probably add 2, you can make 4, you can make it into a large dish and you can put them in the oven. Even that would work. So at the moment I haven't begun cooking at all. It is just cold assembly. I've put it all together, and at this stage I now put my heat on. I'm going to melt the cheese on a very low heat. Literally just warm the cheese up, and as soon as the cheese begins to warm up, it'll start spreading, and then I'm going to then put it inside the oven. You can now see the cheese has begun to melt onto the low heat, and once all the cheese begins to melt, at that stage I'm going to then put it inside the oven to cook further. Now as you can see, the sides of the cheese have begun to loosen off from the pan, and the cheese is almost melted. It's not colored yet, it is just got melted, and you find little bubbles coming in. Now in this I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil on the cabbage, a little bit around it, just a little bit, not too much, because the cheese has a lot of natural fat in it anyway. Now it is just to flavor the cabbage and also to help it cook further. This is now going to go in the oven at around 200 degrees centigrade or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 8 to 10 minutes for the cheese to melt and for the cabbage just to cook to the right doneness. Again, do not forget, I don't like to make it very mushy and soft. I will leave it slightly crunchy. The cabbage is cooked, and I folded the cheese around the cabbage. It tends to break a bit, but that's perfectly okay. The main thing is you get the nice crunch and the flavor, and the cabbage cooks through. So now to plate the dish, you remember I had the corn and the chickpea salsa or the chaat. I'm going to spoon that onto the plate. It's got a nice little kick, and it's also got lemon juice, so it really works well. Now again, you can put anything that you like. You want to put olives, you want to put avocados in that, you want to put sun-dried tomatoes. The choice is yours. Do what you like. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's exactly the way you like to eat it. Salad on the plate, and then goes my cabbage. There you are. So you can see the cabbage is slightly charred and is cooked through, but the cheese is very nice. It's got a little crunch, it's got a little kick to it, it's got a very nice flavor to it, and it's got a nice umami and a salty flavor. So there you have it, my cheese baked cabbage with chickpea and a corn chaat or a salsa. Make sure you try it at home, make it for your friends and family, and do not forget to tag me. So until next time, happy cooking.